Recognize Dr. Sokolowski for his opening statement.
Thank you. Chairman Kane, Ranking Member Keating, distinguished members of the Subcommittee on Europe, thank you for your invitation to speak today.
Can you bring your microphone a little closer, please?
Oh, sure. Can you hear me better now? Okay, great. Thank you for your invitation to speak today on USAID's work in the South Caucasus and your support, particularly concerning the humanitarian situation surrounding the crisis in Nagorno-Karabakh and Armenia. I welcome the opportunity both to talk about our work in the region and to hear your perspectives. USAID and our interagency partners have been working diligently to respond to the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh. For months, humanitarian conditions in the territory steadily deteriorated due to the blockage of the Lachin corridor, resulting in critical shortages of food, energy supplies, medical commodities, and other essential goods. Humanitarian conditions in Nagorno-Karabakh further worsened after armed clashes erupted on September 19th. This prompted more than 100,000 people, nearly all of the ethnic Armenians in the territory, to flee Nagorno-Karabakh in less than 2 weeks. Many of these displaced people exhibited symptoms of sustained emotional distress and chronic illness as a result of Azerbaijan's blockage of the Lachin corridor. 4 days after Azerbaijan's military action, USAID Administrator Samantha Power traveled to Armenia to express USAID's support for Armenia and for the people of Nagorno-Karabakh, and to oversee U.S. efforts to respond to the immediate needs of the ethnic Armenians fleeing the territory. Administrator Power met with Prime Minister Nicole Pashinyan and underscored USAID's commitment to support the Armenian government in assisting displaced persons arriving in Armenia. The administrator traveled to Armenia's border with Azerbaijan to speak firsthand to ethnic Armenians fleeing Nagorno-Karabakh and with humanitarian organizations working to support the tens of thousands of people arriving each day. Administrator Power also announced the activation of a disaster assistance response team to identify priority response needs and to work with humanitarian partners to provide urgently needed aid. Administrator Power then traveled to Azerbaijan, where she met with President Ilham Aliyev to express the United States' deep concerns with Azerbaijan's use of force in Nagorno-Karabakh and to press the Azerbaijani government to allow humanitarian access to the territory, to protect Armenian religious and cultural sites, and to take clear steps to give ethnic Armenians the confidence to return safely. Assistant Secretary O'Brien already noted the $11.5 million in assistance announced on September 26th. And additionally, USAID has focused nearly $6 million in funding from existing programming at USAID Armenia to respond to the humanitarian crisis. This assistance provides immediate food, hygiene, shelter materials, child protection, and support to local governments and communities where the new arrivals have come to. Last month, USAID's Assistant Administrator for Europe and Eurasia, Ambassador Erin McKee, traveled to the Caucasus to receive updates on the situation and to communicate our ongoing commitment to the displaced people of Nagorno-Karabakh. In early October, I also traveled to Armenia to meet with those who had left Nagorno-Karabakh, to consult with Armenian government officials on how we could cooperate further, and to assess USAID's ongoing response efforts. One key takeaway from my trip was the sincere appreciation that displaced persons had for the government of Armenia and the positive assessments of its response so far. As one woman put it to me, we felt alone during the blockage of the Lachin Road, but now we feel that Armenia has welcomed us. In addition to our response to the crisis, USAID has been increasing longer-term development support to Armenia to strengthen Armenia's economic resilience, improve public service provision, and consolidate democratic reforms. In recent weeks, we have deployed teams to Yerevan to explore ways of helping Armenia become more resilient over the longer term, particularly in the governance and in the energy spheres. Thanks to generous support from Congress, USAID has increased its assistance to Armenia by more than 50% since fiscal year 2018. This funding has allowed us to work with the government of Armenia, civil society organizations, and help Armenia foster economic growth, strengthen civic engagement, help diversify its energy supply, and support a more pluralistic, reliable information environment. USAID is also helping Armenia to build economic and trade linkages with Western partners and to increase economic opportunities for women and young people. Lastly, USAID remains committed to promoting peace, stability, and prosperity across the South Caucasus. To that end, we've recently launched regional programs focusing on goals common to all three countries in the region, specifically rural development and natural resources management. Through these cross-border programs, USAID seeks to build partnerships that create the basis for shared prosperity, improved livelihoods, and peace. Thank you again for the opportunity to discuss USAID's priorities and efforts. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Sokolowski. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, the U.S. must send a clear message to President Aliyev that the use of force against sovereign Armenian territory, including the province of Sunak, would be completely unacceptable. Ambassador O'Brien, what measures is the administration prepared to use to deter such a move by Baku? Is the decision to forego, as you alluded to in your opening comments, a Section 907 waiver for Azerbaijan part of that effort, and what other measures are you taking?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have signaled repeatedly, Ambassador Power, communications from the Secretary, every high-level contact we've had, that the use of force inside Armenia is completely unacceptable. The authorities in Baku have assured us they have no such intention, and we're monitoring very closely the movement of troops and any indication that they might have plans otherwise. As I indicated, we've told them that there's no chance of business as usual as long as the peace agreement goes unconcluded. So what steps do we take with that? It's two things. One is we have canceled a number of senior-level engagements. We do not anticipate submitting a waiver on 907, which enables us to provide some assistance to Azerbaijan. And it is assistance that's meaningful both to them and to us, so this has some effect. And we are noting that the possibility of building a transit corridor hinges on the conclusion of a peace agreement and an agreement with Armenia on working consensually to develop that. So we're putting forth all the elements that we see as important in the relationship in order to see whether we can get a peace agreement concluded now.
Okay. Thank you. Ambassador O'Brien, in your written testimony, you said that the State Department is supporting efforts to interview those who fled Nagorno-Karabakh to learn more about what they experienced. What has the State Department learned from these interviews about the living conditions of ethnic Armenians and their treatment during Azerbaijan's offensive?
So I don't want to get in front of the conclusions, and I want to maybe offer a little context. In my background, I began as a young State Department lawyer where I was one of the informal group at the time to investigate the activities in Bosnia where the phrase ethnic cleansing first came to international attention. This takes some time because we're dealing with a population that had been under enormous stress in the months leading up to the events of September 19th and has been through an extraordinarily difficult time. So we're just beginning to speak with the residents, and it's not just us. We're also, there are other groups that are actively involved. We want to be sure that we're not re-interviewing the same people in a way that it causes them further trauma. So this coordinating effort's taken some time. What we're learning is there was a period of a condition of fear due to the closure of the Lachin corridor in the run-up. That's no surprise to anyone. And so that when Azeri authorities came in forcibly on September 19th, it caused the residents to want to leave. Now, exactly what activities took place where, under what command and control, and how that was conveyed to the residents, these are all subjects we're seeking to learn. And again, it's not just government officials doing this. We know there has been a report published by Human Rights Watch. The International Crisis Group is publishing results of its interviews. We also anticipate that the Helsinki committees from Norway and Poland will have their own independent reviews. All of those things will coordinate or we will bring together in a report that we think will give us a true picture. But it does take some time as we deal with a population that is still itself analyzing what has happened to it.
And Dr. Sokolowski, what more does the international community need to be doing to address the urgent needs of